I thought we could leave the Halloween theme behind, and today we can move into another genre that I really like, dystopian. I thought maybe that we could lead a revolution and try and overthrow a government, a corrupt dictator, or a all-knowing big brother. I think we should lead a coup. Speaking of coups, that's the game we're going to be discussing today. It's a great social deduction game, a game that I love busting out at different parties and events and conventions. Anybody can play it, and you can teach it in about 5 minutes. So here's Coup. So, the objective of coup is really simple. You're trying to lead a coup against other leaders, and you do that by collecting coins. Every 7 coins that you have, you're able to perform a coup, and that coup is directed at one of the other players, and they would lose one of their cards when you perform the coup, and if they lose both of them, then they're out of the game. If you have 7 coins, you can coup, but you don't have to immediately. If you get to 10 coins or above 10 coins, you are forced to coup. There's no option in it. You accomplish this by taking a few different actions. The basic actions are income, which is taking 1 coin, and that can't be blocked by anybody, or foreign aid, which is taking 2 coins, and that can be blocked by the Duke. And then you have more role-specific actions, and the underlying tactics is you're not going to know what any of the other players are, and it's encouraged that you lie. So all of these would be face down in a typical game, and you could potentially gather money early on and say you're a Duke, so you can take 3 coins. We'll get into a little bit more specific of the different roles in a minute. But so you can say you get 3 coins, and meanwhile you don't have the Duke in your hand. People can call you on it. If they call you on it and you are lying, then you lose one of your cards. If they call you on it and you're telling the truth, then they lose one of their cards, and you'd have to reveal either way. So now let's get into the specific cards and what they can do. So here's the Duke. We'll start with him since we already talked about him. He is able to take 3 coins per turn. He calls it taking taxes. So he can take 2 coins, but his other ability is he can block people from taking foreign aid. So if somebody tries to take foreign aid, you can say, no, I'm the Duke. You can't take foreign aid. And they can either accuse you if they think you're lying and take it anyway and then risk losing their influence, or they could potentially out you, or they can just put it back and not call you on it and then not take their foreign aid. The next role is also right here, is the assassin. The assassin's ability is to pay 3 coins, and you can assassinate the influence of any player. So that would mean they're losing a card. Now, in a lot of cases, they'll call you on it because it's basically like getting a coup for significantly less. But you can, if you actually have the assassin, it's pretty safe. But you can, for instance, I don't have the assassin here, but I could say I want to assassinate, and they might not be willing to call me on it because they might not be secure in thinking that I'm lying. So the assassin doesn't have a secondary ability where she can block anything, though. Now, let's go on to the Contessa. The Contessa is able to block assassination. That's her only ability. So if the assassin tries to assassinate you, you can say, no, you can't assassinate me because I have a Contessa. And they might call you on it, they might not. But she doesn't have a active ability. She only has a defensive ability in order to block that assassination. And keep in mind that that does not count towards coup. If somebody coups you, the Contessa can't block it. The next role would be the captain. Captain's a fun role. He can actually steal 2 coins from another player. So he can say, I am going to take 2 coins from you because I'm a captain, and he could take it. Now you'd have 4 coins here. They can again call you if you don't actually have the captain. Um, they can run that risk. But the captain also gets a secondary ability that he blocks stealing. So in this case, a person has a captain, so I'd be like, hey, I'm the captain, and I'm going to steal your coins. But they can say, no, you can't block. You can't steal my coins because I have a captain and I'm blocking as well. Um, so that's like a little bit of a head game, and then either player can call the other, and that can be a little bit of an interesting standoff. And the last role is the ambassador. The ambassador is able to exchange cards with the court deck. So you can either exchange one or both cards with the court deck, and you can then take the cards back out, and like you get new cards, and he's also able to block stealing. So if your captain guy tries to steal from this player, they can say, no, I have an ambassador, so you can't steal from me. And again, he doesn't actually have to have the ambassador. So the tactics all comes down to whether or not you're going to lie, where you're going to lie, and how consistent you are when you lie. Some people can go straight and not have to lie, but it makes it a lot more difficult to play if you're not going to lie at all. And you can kind of get this interesting head game going where you could lie early on and then change your lie and say the truth later on, and then somebody sees the conflict and then they try to accuse you of whether or not you're lying. And it's interesting in that way. So now that you have the mechanics, let's go into my pros and cons. Okay, so now that you know how to play the game, let's discuss a little bit of my pros and cons. I'm going to start off with cons because there really isn't much there. In terms of personal preference, I tend to like a more tactical and strategic game, but that's again my personal preference, and I don't think it really detracts from what this game's actually trying to do. In terms of the pros, I'm gonna use kind of the same thing that I used for the con and kind of turn it into a positive because it's not very strategic and it's not very tactical. It is really accessible to anybody who wants to play the game. I feel like that's a trend in games now where we're trying to make increasingly complex games that are really accessible by the rules, and that really helps out when you're trying to get people involved in the hobby. The easier the games are to understand and the more you can do with those simplistic rules, the easier it's going to be to get people to play with you, and then that kind of serves as a conduit for getting people to try maybe more complex social deduction games, and then possibly more strategic and tactical games that you might like playing if you're one of those kind of players like me. This works really well to get people into the hobby, and because of that, it's you're able to kind of see the the minute tactics that you can use, like based on when you're what roles you start out with the game. You might want to switch some of them out if you have the ambassador, or say like if you don't like a setup that you have, you might want to use the ambassador to say you have it and switch out some cards. You might want to start with the claiming that you're a duke so you can build up some money. You might want to switch to captain later on because you want to get that money away from the people that are trying to go up against you towards the end of the game. There's a lot of tactics throughout the game that you can kind of play with to lure your opponents into a false sense of security, kind of lead them to believe one thing, and then actually be representing something else. There's little complexities that are hidden within the complex rules, but they don't come from you reading the rules. They come from you playing the game, figuring out the people that you're playing with, and you can kind of run a lot with the very simplistic rule set. This is the type of game that is really easy to bring to a lot of different type of events. It works great as a stocking stuffer or a Secret Santa gift. It's a great gateway gift for anybody to get into board games, and I've probably brought this to more events, friends' houses, team nights, and family gatherings than any other game that I own, because it's really simple and easy to bring with you in a backpack or a pocket. And I like games that are compact but still have a full game experience in them. And the components that go into the box are pretty much just the roll cards, the coins, and the little information sheets. And that's a small package, but it has a lot of fun in it. And the components are not over the moon amazing, but the coins hold up and the cards hold up with a little bit of moisture, which you might have on the table. You probably shouldn't have too much moisture. They will warp if they get too wet. And the coins don't have the little they're not hard to get out of the little punch when you first get the game. They're not going to rip very easily. I didn't have any of them rip when I punched out the game, and I have a couple of copies of Coup, and none of them got damaged at all when I was setting it up initially. So those are my thoughts on Coup. If you like what you heard about Coup and you want to look at other full-size games in small packages, check out my review of Tiny Epic Zombies. I just posted it up on the channel. And if you like the social deduction aspect of Coup, definitely check out my discussion video of Werewolf versus One Night Werewolf. That was posted early on my channel. If you like all the content that you're seeing, feel free to leave a comment down below. Tell me what your favorite social deduction game is. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified of everything else I post in the future. And I'll catch you in the next episode.